Okay, let's jump right into it. So we got one from the Diary of a CEO. This is a good one. It said the real reason why men don't want to date anymore. Open your ears and pay attention.
I really want to just close off on the point about the world that men find themselves in before we move to the world that women find themselves in, and then try and tackle some of those problems. So they're lost in terms of understanding what masculinity is. We know that they're finding it harder to find dates. They're finding it harder to have sort of sexual relationships. Is there anything else that I need to understand about the man in the current social climate?
Okay, pay attention to the narrative. I'm gonna do a lot of breaking down on everything, but one of the main things that he was talking about was um, men having issues with, I guess, finding women for sexual activities or finding women to date, which is crazy because we are in like super like thought culture. So it's like sex is like at an all time high, but I believe a lot of men are going either two directions. Either they are over hypersexualized and that's leading to a lot of paying for it, or a lot of men are not in a position to go with the social trends, the psychological programming of paying. And I don't know, for some reason the last couple of years, the last, I say 10, definitely 5 years, heavy. It's been a extremely um it's been an uptake in transactional relationships. So it's like we're in a trick and hoe society. A lot of men are just offering nothing but money, and they lead them with the money, and a lot of women is not offering for that money sex, like, and they're not 304s. So, but let's let them continue.
Well, I think the problem for the vast majority of men, especially young men, is their invisibility.
Mm,
Most men are wallpaper, and the world does not treat men very well when they want nothing from them.
mm,
I talk about that in the very first pages of the book, that to understand why some people are rich in relationship opportunities, whether they're romantic, professional, friendship, etc., and other people are not. It's not correct to say that it's the good people who have relationship opportunities or the virtuous people. It's
facts. It doesn't. It's not a. It's not a thing of morality or principles about good or bad. It's just, man, are you good with connecting with people, or are you not good? And it's a lot of barriers for men to connect with other men, especially. Like even myself, I find it's easy for me to, have conversations and chop it up with dudes. But as far as like forming like connections and like, okay, we gonna rock together and on some level up, no, because a lot of guys are not there mentally. And I did a video about this before when I said it was three types of guys. You have the basic guy who is the majority, and I use the comparison of, consider it like walking. That's what the basic guy would be. His form of transportation is walking. Then you have the next level guy, which would be way better than the basic guy, and they usually excel in industries or institutions. They excel in the system. But the issue with this guy is he can't think outside the box. He doesn't. He's tied to the system. He's tied to the matrix. So his thought process is very limited. And yeah, they do good in whatever industries that they get in because they're so tied to the matrix, but they can't get past that. And they come across a lot of issues in relationships too because they are so tied to the program of the matrix. And the program of the matrix is a false matrix. Then you have the smaller percent, which is guys who tend to think outside the box, and they can dominate in the matrix, but because they're thinking outside of the box, the barrier is trying to thrive and win without playing by the rules of the matrix. So those are the three types. The first guy, walking, is not that complicated. Basic dude, plays mostly video games, probably has very hard times talking to women. Then you have the next guy, does a little bit better works all day, you know, went through the whole process of what society said this is what you should do. Then you have, I would consider that like a car, you know, like that's transportation would be like a car. It's a lot more advanced than walking, but a lot of people, most people can drive a car. Then you have the last guy, which would be like flying a plane. He's complicated like that. You know, he thinks outside the box on that level. You have to actually be skilled to make it thinking it like that. You know, it takes a lot more attention, focus, knowledge, experience to operate a plane than it does to operate a car. You know, so consider the level like that.
It's the people that other people want things from that have relationship opportunities. If you have more of what other people want more, you are going to have relationship opportunities throughout your lifespan. And that's very difficult because imagine being an 18-year-old man. You have no money and you've never had money. You may not have a job. You may never have had a job. So you have no skills. You're kind of invisible to women.
Just to piggyback off of what he's saying, the problem with that is you shouldn't be waiting to 18 to start to build skills. You shouldn't be doing that. Like most men, you should be jumping off the porch in your preteens. Around 13, 12, 11, you should start to work on some type of skills, you know, and build on those skills down the road. I know a lot of people is going to be like, that's extreme, but it is what it is. And it could come in the form of playing a sport. It could come in the form of volunteering at youth programs like the YMCA, different things like that. Being social, because you're working on these social skills that you're going to need for the future. And they transfer over when it comes to talking to women. Like, it's really not that hard to talk to women. It's very easy. And at 18, but then again, I don't know where everybody is coming from. I grew up in the Bay Area, primarily Oakland. And at 18, most men have talked to women, you know, like a lot of women, because that's the program. So every region has their own type of mental program that's happening on a mass level. It's like regional stamps. Like a lot of time you could tell by certain words, certain culture, you know, certain dialogue, you know, certain words that's used. You could tell where someone is from by what the word is and how they say it. It's the same thing when it comes to, you know, how we interact socially. In a lot of urban areas, a lot of the guys grow up fast, just like a lot of the women grow up fast. So they may not have the same type of issues when it comes to trying to talk to women or trying to, you know, work on their skills, because they're put in an environment or a position where they kind of have to, either whether it's from their financial or their, you know, their financial or economic circumstances, or it's from peer pressure, you know. Now I say that because with your financial or economic social status, if you come from a place where it's like, okay, you got to get a job at 14, 15, then you're already working on those skills prior to 18. You know, you got a whole 3 to 4 years. If you were, same thing, you know, like if you were peer pressured into talking to a girl at a party when you were like 13 or 14, it was a birthday party or something, you know, then it's still that pressure that's going to like force you to pop your cherry and get over the fear. But a lot of guys over the age of 18 or who may not have grew up in the same type of environment, they're kind of being not pacified, but semi-babied, you know, until to ways to where it's like they didn't have to really work on those skills. And as adults, people aren't taking care of you as grown men like they did when you were a boy. It doesn't work like that. That's not reality.
Because you don't have yet anything that women might find conducive for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, that's cap.
If you're cute, they might hook up with you.
Facts.
But if you're not even that, I mean, why waste their opportunity? Why waste their time when there are other more attractive options?
Man, that's when it comes to talking. Again, fortunately for growing up in Oakland, a lot of men don't know how to talk and they have fear of rejection. Man, you got to get over that. Just talk. It's okay to get rejected. It's okay because you learn from that rejection. It's going to toughen your skin. Then it's going to toughen you on a mental and psychological level, as well as increase the way you move socially. So by trial and error, like being in the gym, you know, shooting free throws. When you first pick up a basketball for the first time, you may not even know how to dribble. But if you've been playing for forever, you know, then yeah, eventually you will be able to dribble and shoot the ball, make a free throw. It's the same thing. If you talk to 100 girls and you don't get one, you probably need to go back to practice, you know?
Available. And you're also kind of useless to most men because you don't yet have the skills and the experience to be a good team player. Like, I wouldn't want you on my squad if you've never been out in the field. You're going to be a liability.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to carry your ass off the field.
That's facts.
So you can't be here either. And that creates obviously the catch-22, which is, well, where am I going to get the experience if no one gives me a shot? It's actually very difficult to be a young man.
It is.
You don't have what.
But also, and I keep cutting it off, but it's like the main reason why it's very difficult to be a young man is because a lot of the older men gatekeep. They don't really pass on the right information and the right knowledge to the younger generation. Partially because they be gatekeeping themselves, and another main factor is because they are on a false program. They're on a bad program themselves. So they can't give you a good program if they're on a bad program. So a lot of dudes, even when, like, from when I was younger, they didn't really put on, like, any of the younger guys. Like, they may have the younger guys doing the work for them, you know. They may have them, you know, like, for example, in the hood, they may have the older guys who had the money and everything. They wouldn't take risk or chances getting their own hands dirty. They have somebody who's young put in that work for them. And it's like they never put that young person in a position to where they can actually do for themselves, but they'd throw them a couple of dollars, or, you know, like they'd throw them something to keep them on a string, you know, to keep putting in work from them, but they not really putting them on or changing their lives. And that's the main problem. The main problem is a lot of the older guys in the previous generations was shit. Their mentality was shit. The way that they approach things was shit. And that's why we are in these conditions that we are in now. Because the way that they approached women, it was shit. That's why, like, most women are so, like, super hyper materialistic, because you got to think about it. 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was male dominated when it comes to finances, when it comes to business, when it came to most things. And it wasn't every man. It was not to be that guy, but a particular type of guy, you know, or a certain type of, you know, figure, you know, a certain type of person. And it was like they put in the trends of today by, you know, approaching things like that. And it just led to fuckery today. Like, that's literally what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the fuckery of today because the old heads of yesterday had a shitty program that most people adopted as, like, face value, and they put it into their core belief system. And it was a false program with a false narrative and a false indoctrination, a false belief system. And that's why everybody out here on bullshit.
Either women or more experienced men want or need, and you're generally very disposable.
Man.
And unfortunately, we've seen that. I mean, young men have a very high mortality rate in all kinds of ways. They were shipped off to wars.
Man.
You talked about the suicide epidemic among older men. Well, it's also very high among adolescent boys as well.
Definitely.
It's hard to be a young man.
And then don't even mention the trends that they following. Like, most of the men follow, like, shitty ass trends. So you have a lot of the athletes and entertainers, and, you know, like, I fell victim to it too when I was younger, you know, when I was a child. And, like, fortunately for me, I had the thought process that I didn't never really go along to get along. You know, I didn't like to follow. And it's like things didn't make sense. And a lot of people never get off of the program or the hamster wheel and start to think for themselves and start to question everything. But, like, is this program actually the program that I'm supposed to be on? For example, around the 90s, we had a lot of toxic masculinity. If you think about, like, the biggest movies from the 90s with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, those type of movies. It was all explosion, muscles, shoot 'em up, bang bang, get every kind of girl you want, like knock them all down. And that was the program, the blueprint that they was given to men and little boys, and then it's like 20, 30 years later, everything is Grand Theft Auto and, Sex in the City, because that was the program that was fed and pushed consistently on a subconscious level as well. So it's like, you can't be mad at these boys that turned into men that have a false narrative if they never questioned the program. They never learned, and it is the fault of their own to a degree, because nobody's going to do it for you. You have to, wake up by yourself and be like, hey man, should I be doing this? Should I be spending all this time trying to, like smash every female I come across? Like, that shit it's a hard habit to break after you realize that you on a badass program. Like, seriously. And a lot of dudes, they shoot for that because the entertainment and media put that person or that type of a player at the highlight and put it in your face, like, oh, be like this. Like, for example, like Chris Brown, like Chris Brown can probably smash most women, like, in a lot of women wouldn't have an issue with sharing him. They wouldn't have an issue, like with doing certain things. Like, they're not going to require him to take them on a date or buy him anything or do none of that shit, like, in none of it. But they will definitely smash him instantaneously, but that same dude, who she's in a relationship with or who she's trying to get to married with and have children with, she's going to give that dude a completely different experience. Like, he's not going to get the Chris Brown experience because that's the program. It's a psychological, social program. And you have to know what it is that you're dealing with, or you're just going to be lost in the sauce out here.
I remember one of my guests telling me that about a study where they analysed the suicide letters of men, and they looked at the words used versus the words used in female suicide letters, and the most sort of frequent sentiment amongst those letters was about feeling worthless.
Yep.
Feeling like you weren't needed.
Yep.
And the guest on the podcast concluded that really what we needed to find a way is to send a message to men that you're needed. And it's a straight...
But you got to find that in yourself. Like, the world can't tell you that you're needed. You have to find that. You have to find that inner light in yourself. And that's why another reason to, like, unprogram and, you feel me, like, unplug from the false belief system and the false narrative that you've been given, especially if you're a man. Women, it's not as bad for them, because we are in a feminine universe and a feminine planet. So, they have a advantage to a degree. But even with them, their program is also false. But a man, you're not going to be taken care of. The world doesn't really care about you. So you can't afford to be a delulu. Like, women, they have that opportunity in some circumstances, some cases. But men, you don't have that opportunity. You're going to get eaten up and nobody's even going to care. So you have to find a need for yourself. You have to find your own purpose. You have to do a lot of self-evaluation and become, like, really self-absorbed. Seriously, like, it's fucked up, but you have to become self-absorbed and about you, because if you don't do for you, you can't do for nobody else, and nobody's going to be looking for you.
Strange thing to say, but it correlates perfectly to what you were saying.
The message sounds good, but it would be better to actually have opportunities to be needed.
Yeah.
Than to be told that you are needed.
You got to make the opportunities.
And that you are cared for. That's a nice emotional sentiment.
It is.
That doesn't really keep the demons away at night.
Man, but that's not...
People need to feel connected to other...
That's your job to do that. That's nobody else's job to deal with, your shit. You got to unback your own shit. That's your job. Every adult.
People. They need to feel like they have a place in the world. And it can take quite some time to discover that. One of the traps that I fell into when I was a young man is I thought that I could figure that out by just sort of like noodling it out alone in my room. Like I was trying to figure out what I wanted my life to be about, what the purpose of my life was going to be before I even left the house. And I wasted a lot of time in fruitless rumination that way. It's much better to...
Yeah, I could tell he was low-key sheltered, like, just off of the dialogue, but...
Discover your purpose in life by moving through the world and examining your choices in retrospect. It's like you only really get to discover who you are by examining and understanding your revealed preferences based on your behavior as you move through the world. It's very easy to think of yourself in all kinds.
To a degree, because if that behavior is a learned behavior or a trending behavior, then that's not really you. So you got to be very mindful of what is you and what's not you. And you won't know what that is until you unplug it and see, okay, is this for me or is it not for me? A lot of stuff won't be for you if you question it.
Kinds of ways when you're untested, when you're untried, when you're in the morally ambiguous situations in which human beings find themselves as they navigate reality.
Are you saying that the evidence you're looking for or the answers you're looking for come from
taking action?
Facts.
Absolutely.
Facts.
They don't come from thinking it out.
Maybe.
They often don't come from therapy.
Hell no. They never come.
It might sound weird coming from a therapist, but I do think that we live in a very overly therapized culture.
Facts.
With the understanding that therapy is somewhat of a panacea in that it should be able to cure all that ails you. And I don't think...
No, that's not... Therapy is just to give you a verbal or a blueprint of the issues that you working with. A lot of time people go to therapy to hear, unless you're a child, you know, if you're a child or if you have some type of serious mental condition or some type of serious trauma. But for most people, they go to therapy to get the answers that they already know. They just don't want to deal with the shit, or they don't know how to deal with the shit. But you know what shit it is that's there that you have to deal with. You feel me? And you got to figure it out. The therapist ain't going to do it for you. They can give you some examples, you know, they can give you some, you know, the general idea of what they're told to give. But man, that's not a promised answer. If you want a promised answer, do the work.
I think that that's true. Therapy is very good for certain problems and it's useless for others.
Facts.
What about women? What are the challenges that a woman faces in the modern world because of all these sort of macro changes that have taken place?
Well, the main problem that I see women encountering, at least in my consultative practice, is they have trouble finding the men that they want to have long-term relationships with.
Now, that makes me wonder, like, because I pay attention to trends again, and I pay attention to psychology, and I've noticed that most women, not all, but a good percentage, we're all programmed to a degree, unless you unplug from the matrix. Most women are programmed to want the same type of men, but it's only a limited amount of those type of men available, especially when a lot of women in the last decade or two, because of the combination of psychological trends in entertainment and social media, our social interactions, and what we actually see happening daily on social media, the combination of financial stress and economic downturns, you know, because I say this all the time, relationships are determined by the economy. The economy is going to tell you what type of relationships are available or what the relationship dynamics will be. Like in the 60s, we had the nuclear family structure. The woman was in the house because the man was doing physical labor at factories in certain industries after the industrial age, you know. Then it started going into databases and administration. A lot of CEOs were hiring a lot of women administrators, especially when you had different type of government incentives, government programs, and they were giving money and funding for a lot of companies and a lot of corporations. It piloted in the Bay Area in the 80s, but it started to go everywhere to integrate women of color primarily into the workforce, into corporate America, into government positions. And they were doing the opposite for men, more urban men, you know, men of color. But that was the game. And now the economy is not really as corporate in actuality. Like it is in structure, but it's more about content. It's more about, you know, like being on camera. It's more about, you know, like that's where a lot of the job advertising comes. That's where a lot of the attention is going. That is a woman-dominated industry because women look good on camera. Men and women rather watch women on camera than watch a man on camera. It just is what it is. So the economy dictates what the dynamics of the relationships is. Now, to bring this full circle, the reason why I say that is because if you have so many women going for the same type of men, and the program that you have for the women is Disney, you know, like, okay, look, Prince Charming, get married, white picket fence, and you got this one guy that is in Asia. You know, they go for a lot of CEOs in the Western world. Here in America, primarily a lot of celebrities or athletes. You know, then you start going down to like 6-figure, 7-figure type of men, but that's a small percentage of the population. But you have all these women going after the same type of men. That man is not going to want to settle down. He's for what? Fuck no. He's not going to do that. So what's going to end up happening is he may have his main thing that he's you know, like a wife or, you know, whatever, girlfriend, whatever the fuck it is, his situation, but he's still doing his thing, playing the field, because he has so many options, because so many women are throwing themselves at him, because they're not checking for the other guys that's actually closer to their level. Those guys are completely invisible to him. And again, it's not just them, it's more of the psychological and social programming, you know.
Almost every consultation I've done with a woman has been around, how do I get a man to marry me? And that's also kind of strange, because I would think
now, the next video we got after this is going to piggyback off of this, so pay attention.
80, 100 years ago, that was something that that girl was being prepared for since she was a very young person, by her mother and her grandmother and her aunts and her female relatives with whom she probably lived in close consultation. And she never would have gotten to the age of 30 where this would be an open question still.
And who are you? What's your sort of, if I looked at your CV, you know, you talked about your consultative practice. What is the experiences you've had and the education you've had that have brought you to this point where you've written this book about relationships and those dynamics? What is your sort of professional, personal experience?
Well, professionally, I'm a psychologist. I'm licensed in the state of California, so I went to grad school and got a doctorate in psychology.
Uh-oh.
I had all kinds of training experiences while I was moving through that. I worked at a chemical dependency clinic for 2 years. I worked with cancer patients and their caregivers in a health psychology setting for a couple of years. I worked with significant dysfunction in a community mental health center in San Francisco for a while. I worked in...
So no shade to Buddy, but it seems like he's coming at it from indirect experience. Like his experience, I'm pretty sure he's in the Bay too, you know? So yeah, I'm pretty... But then again, he's in the Bay. I don't think he's really in the Bay like that. He's just in the other Bay. But I think that his experience comes more from indirect. So his clients, stuff that he learned, clinical trials or things like that. But I personally don't think that it's just like hella models and random females and like females that like a lot of guys will consider like 7, 8s, and 9s or 10s, you know, would just be looking for him. Like if he flagged him down, just, I'm not talking about him leading with what he does in life. I'm talking about, or him leading with like money or anything like that. I'm saying he saw a female, he conversated with her, and he knocked her, got her number, and then did his thing like instantaneous. I don't know. I don't think that that is his personal experience like that. So be mindful of that, because experience from learning or from someone else, secondhand experience, completely different than firsthand experience. I'm giving you firsthand experience. Firsthand experience. Firsthand experience. It's a big difference.
Outpatient with severe personality disorders. So that was all part of my training. And then when I started my private practice, I began to focus on men's mental health. And for a long time when I was a therapist, I worked exclusively with men. That's changed a little bit.
Bingo.
Now that I have a kind of a larger platform on which to reach people. But that's sort of been my professional experience.
So in your private practice, when people come to you, what are men most frequently coming to you with in terms of a problem they come with versus what
Money
women
and
come to you
sex.
with a problem with?
Well, in general, It's either money or women.
Man,
for
what I
men.
say?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man.
And this is nothing new. Like Sigmund Freud said a long time ago that the purpose of psychoanalysis was to teach people how to work and how to love.
That's deep. So basically, that's what they set up a lot of therapists for. The purpose, learning how to work and learning how to love. So you're learning how to be a productive member of society, and you learn how to have relationships and relations with the people.
That's it. If you can learn how to work and love, you can be a fairly functional human being in society and have a satisfying life.
Facts of life.
And he also said that the goal of therapy was not to cure suffering per se, which might be inseparable from the human experience, but to free human beings from neurotic, unnecessary suffering so that they are better equipped to meet the necessary suffering and pain of being alive. So he had, I think, a more attenuated vision for what therapy could do. So it's either money, work, or women, love. And what I
Like I said, money and sex.
found is that it's either one or the other.
Man.
I often did consultations with guys who were super successful professionally. They were making millions, but they were in failed marriage after failed marriage, or they couldn't, for the life of them, get laid, even if they were having
And that is a common thing. It's a common thing.
parties with models on their super yachts. You know what I'm saying? But
Man, it's a common thing. I'm telling you, a lot of times, a lot of guys with money, like money doesn't change who you are. It just amplifies it. Whoever you are before money, you're going to be that with money, just at a magnitude version of it. So if you corny without money, when you get money, you still going to be corny. You still going to do what you're doing. So it's like if you're leading with money, and a lot of guys do this because, again, it comes back to the social psychological trends that we're in. We are in a trick and hoe society. So a lot of guys will lead with their pockets because that's the program, and a lot of women will respond to that, with affection and attention. But that's false. It's not genuine. It's not real. 9 times out of 10, while you may be the person doing that, she's still getting her back blown out by another dude that ain't doing nothing.
by the same token, there are fewer of them because they couldn't afford my out-of-pocket rate. But it's like there were some men who were just absolutely cleaning up. Like I've done some consultations, I had some patients, young men who were just like plowing through San Francisco. I mean, they had sexual success in a way that most men would just fantasize about.
It's not hard. And again, I grew up in the Bay Area, man. I believe it. But it has a pro and a con. Like it's a catch 22 because you shouldn't be wanting to do that. But a lot of guys who like have that mentality, even myself included, like you have a realization and you be like, damn, I done had sex with all these women and I done have all these other women that I haven't even did nothing with, but I can't do nothing with having like I smashed all these women. What do you do? What do you get for that? You don't get anything. You don't get anything. You can't take that to the bank and be like, let me get some money or give me a reward. It does not work like that. So it's like they have us on that program, and even after you break it, it's still hard as fuck to break, especially if you've been doing it since you've been hella young. And a lot of guys have been on that program, like it's one or the other. Well, it's not a lot of guys because a lot of guys ain't successful with it, but he's not lying.
But they had a really hard time getting their money straight, their career.
Yeah, this is facts.
They were super stressed out. They had anxiety disorders, things like that, which is actually fairly ironic because what I found is if it works in one domain, it generally works in the other.
Interesting. So if I get my work right, then I'll get my love right.
If it works in business, it often works with women.
What do you mean?
Yep.
Sorry.
Well, think about it this way. Men want sex and they want relationships from women. Women,
I think the issue, and just speaking from my personal experience with being that guy, like who he was talking about, is I learned actually recently, like with my daughter's mom, like that's like my love, like she came and she turned my whole life out, you know, like, and I still have my own shit that I have to deal with, you know, like that I'm like have to work on, but it gave me more focus. Like the problem with being able to have hella options is focus. And that's the same thing of what I say it's equivalent to, you know, when it comes to business, like trying to focus on one thing to be, you know, like stay on it and like drive on that. It's the same thing, you know. So I do agree with that, what he's saying. Like it do transfer over.
And don't go around giving those things out to men just because they want them. Okay?
That's debatable, depending on the woman.
So, what's the analogous problem in the professional arena, which is I want money? Let's say you're a salesman. I want money. I have this product or I have this service. I want people to hire me. I want people to buy it. Well, people aren't just going around with their wallets out saying, who's going to take my money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you have to find a way to get what you want from the people that you want it from. And a lot of the strategies that work in business to do that will work in the sexual marketplace as well.
Interesting.
Mm.
That's very, very true. Because
Very
I think
true.
I told you before we started recording, when I was, I don't know, 18, there was this pickup artistry book sent to my house that I think my older brother had ordered, but he ordered it to the wrong address because he'd moved out to university. So he said, just keep it.
Lucky accident for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
suppose.
And I sat there and I read it cover to cover without moving. And actually, much of the principles I learned about pickup artistry, about attraction, about being a high value male, are actually things that I took into business when it comes to negotiation, sales, persuasion, and all those things. So
Same thing.
I do see that translation.
Well, another thing is that often when I say that, because people have all kinds of associations with pickup, they think it's kind of sleazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's especially for guys who couldn't get laid otherwise, and so they have to use manipulative tactics to get what they want. It's like, okay, well, yeah, welcome to advertising, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's one.
Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of dudes do be messing up the game. They be selling dreams. You know, it's more of a childish thing. You know, like you may do it a lot more when you're younger, depending on when you jump off the porch. But after you get to a certain age and you get to a certain experience points, you realize it's not even no point in running game. You don't have to run game. It's so easy that you don't have to run game. You just have to have a conversation. That's it. You have to have a genuine conversation, and you have to establish some type of stimulation mentally. Like they have to be intrigued about you. But it's sneaky. It's sneaky because you don't know what they're into until you start to, you know, shop around. You got to know how to ask leading questions, just like advertising. Just like if you are marketing a product or something. You have to ask leading questions and questions that kind of get you to the answer that you want, you know. Some dudes, they lead with lies or they lead with like manipulation. They don't really got no, they don't really have no morale when it comes to, you know, same thing with business and, you know, when it comes to fucking with females. But it will turn around and bite them in their ass because just like your business, you got to check the reviews, you know. And a lot of dudes got bad reviews. You want to have good reviews when it comes to like with women because women talk and they like a business. You will either have a good review or you'll have a bad review, depending on what it is. And that's really what it is.
Inside of it, they think that those strategies just work to get laid or to have casual sexual relationships. No, they often also work in long-term relationships. Not only because generally the pathway to a long-term relationship is through a more casual arrangement.
Facts.
Usually people date and hang out and sleep together for some weeks, some months before they define the relationship, right? So they kind of, for better or for worse, have to go through that proving ground before they get to here.
That
right?
proving ground.
But like, it's really important for long-term relationships. It's one of the principles for long-term success is complementarity of skill sets. It's like if you're a startup founder, you want somebody who can do very well the things that you cannot do.
Facts.
Like having two CEOs is just a recipe for competition, struggle, and strife, right?
Man.
So you need people with complementary skill sets in order to go the distance.
Mm-hmm.
In my
So again, that's to piggyback off of that. A lot of people out here, they just go off of the appearance. They don't take it any further than just the appearance, especially a lot of men, because they think with the little head before they think with the big head. And it's like, man, yeah, she looked good, and you was like trying to smash and everything was all good till you got that post nut clarity. But then after that, you know, reality kick in, and then he was like, damn man, she kind of, you know, kind of crazy, or man, she kind of be on like kind of beggar, you know, like, and they will brush off of these signs or these flags, you know, and then later on down the road they'll complain about the issues. You're like, no bro, she was that, you feel me, before you even smashed, but you was blind. You was blind by the coochie. And it's like after you bust a nut, you feel me, reality kicked in and you like, oh fuck, what did I do? Especially if you had a child with her. You know, a lot of dudes, they get that clarity, like, man, posting that clarity after they have a kid, you feel me, with a girl, and be like, bro, you fucked her raw. Like, nigga, why are you upset? Why you didn't know she was gonna act like this? But you get what I mean? So you gotta, a lot of dudes gotta really take that time to, man, pay attention to what comes out of women's mouth. Like, the first thing that you're gonna be instantly attracted to is her appearance, guaranteed, off top. But don't focus there so much. You feel me? Like, you really need to pay attention to what is coming out of her mouth. Pay attention to what she says, but you have to know the right questions or know the right conversation to have to get the answers, and pay attention to her actions. That's gonna tell you exactly who you're dealing with. You feel me? It don't take that long to size it up. But if you just focused on how she look, like, damn, I want to fuck with her because she look good. Or you feel me, oh, like on some basic, you feel me, like materialistic shit, surface level, bruh, you're gonna set yourself up for a failure. Because a lot of dudes, they go after the ones that's hella loud. And I'm not just saying like loud as far as verbally, but I mean loud as far as their appearance. You feel me? A lot of dudes like the females that's like be on like stripper 304 shit, or you know, like they look like video girls or models or celebrities, or you know, those are the ones you want to fucking avoid. You don't ever want to fuck with those type of females. That's not what you want to do. And the problem with right now is social media, and a lot of these trends are turning the girls who were regular, degular, cool, good girls into the girls that are like, man, them not the ones, you feel me, that you take long term. Like, this is gonna sound fucked up, but you have fun, you feel me, and don't get attached. Y'all just having fun. But you feel me, to actually build with that person, man, that may not be what you want to do, buddy. You feel me? You gotta be, yeah, you want to have somebody who you want to have fun with, but don't let it just be all fun, because that shit gonna turn sour real quick.
My experience, 90% of successful relationships are based on selection.
Facts.
If you can understand yourself,
man,
accurate self-knowledge,
hey, facts,
and you get better at discerning other people,
yep,
you can have satisfying relationships with lots of different human beings.
Facts.
We're going to get into figuring out how you do that. But
Right.
but on the point, I asked you there, I said, what do men come to you with in terms of problem sets? And you said money and women, ideally sort of working women, or work and love. So what do women come to you?
They want to get married.
So they just come to you with the love problems?
Yeah, I mean, they do that now because I talk about lots of things on my channel, but by far the most successful videos are the ones about intersexual dynamics, and so that's kind of what I'm known for. And so there is a bit of a selection bias there, as the most popular videos are me talking about men and women, and so increasingly men and women come to me about their relationship issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. But women use therapy for all kinds of different reasons, right? We know that women are by far bigger consumers of therapeutic services, in particular, like actually going to therapy, and also more generally, like they make up the lion's share of consumers for just self-help material in general. Like there's a big market for that kind of self-betterment and self-improvement in the female marketplace. And we also know that about 85% of mental health practitioners are women.
Facts.
Like when I was in my training, I think I was one of 3 people in my cohort that were men. I would interview at some placements where there were.
I think that's because, again, back to the toxic masculinity of the 90s, that artificial masculinity shit. It's like that macho man always told guys to suppress their emotions, you feel me, and like really not acknowledge them. And I honestly believe that your emotions are directly tied to your mentality and your mental. you know, because your thoughts is what triggers the emotions, or maybe the emotions trigger the thoughts sometimes, you know, vice versa. But you got to really be like dealing with it, you know, like it's cool to experience, you know, certain type of emotions, like even if it's for a little bit. I'm not saying you got to be like boohoo and, you know, like mad every time, you know, you should, but you have to experience your emotions so you can keep your emotions in check. But a lot of guys had suppressed it because of how we were brought up, you know, like again, the 90s, 80s, and 70s, even the 60s too, like the men, their program was fucking terrible, and they passed it a terrible program on, and now it's like people are trying to backtrack and backpedal and fix a bad program, but it's like the damage is already done. Like it's like hella hard to reverse what the fuck has already happened.
Weren't any men at all on the staff whatsoever.
Of course not.
And just like I can appreciate that women might not feel entirely comfortable going to a man with certain of their issues, I know for sure that there's plenty of men who wouldn't feel comfortable going to a woman about some of their concerns.
Facts.
So when they talk about why, you often hear it's usually women, they're dissatisfied with men's lack of interest in going to therapy. Men would literally want to refurbish a train, then go to therapy and talk about their feelings. Well, it's because there aren't a lot of male practitioners, and I think what's good for men isn't always what's good for women, and vice versa. What's good for the good.
That's a bar. What's good for one is not always what's good for the other. We need to understand that our biology, our chemistry, our whole physiology is different. Like men and women are completely different. So we're not going to have the same pros and cons. We're not going to have the same solutions. We're not going to have the same outlook. We could be speaking the same language and be talking about two completely separate different things, you know, so you got to like also know that
this isn't always what's good for the gander. What I found is that women generally talk to process their emotions.
Bingo.
And they're more keen on emotionally focused strategies, right?
Man, that's a bar. Like they talk to process the emotions. So when they talk to men about their problems, they're just getting shit off their chest. They're just processing it. They're not actually looking for a fucking solution, but that's men. When men hear a problem, they want to fix the problem so a problem don't pop up again. It's like, fuck talking about it. How we gonna actually deal with it? Women don't operate like that. Women like to express themselves and talk about the emotions, even if they don't even fix anything. Like a lot of women will talk about shit just to talk about it and not do anything to fucking fix the problem. Men don't operate like that. But at the same time, a lot of men don't even talk about the problem, which is also bad.
Whereas men, they try to resolve things through action and through solution.
Bingo.
And they often see that just talking about their problems and paying for the opportunity to do so to be a complete waste of time and money. And I can understand why.
Facts.
Now, it does have its place.
It does.
Like, it's very important for some men to be able to have a safe space to really share their experience and talk about this stuff, because, man, they can be judged harshly if they open up to the wrong people.
Man.
So there's a time and a place for that for men as well.
Yeah, to be honest, in 2025, as a man, if you open up about yourself, depending on what the subject is, man, 8 out of 10, it could be backlash, especially if it's not politically and socially correct. So, yeah, be mindful.
But it's generally not every week for several years.
So let's go into those three different problems then. So if a man comes to you and they are expressing an issue with love, they're trying to get laid, they're trying to find someone, where do you start? What are the sort of foundational things you need them to understand for you to all get focused in the right direction?
Well, I usually start with what they've tried in the past and where in the funnel they tend to be experiencing their difficulties. Like the advice is very different if you're not getting any matches on a dating app or you haven't been able to get a date in months versus I can get with women, but...
Man, not being able to get a date in months is crazy. Come to the school. So I help men, we help men. It's a few of us, and we actually have a lot of women coaches, and we help men level up, especially when it comes to the golden carrot, that most these male rabbits be chasing, man. Like talking to women, getting women that actually like you without having to break your pockets for them. Like genuine conversations, genuine affection, genuine attention. Like learn how to get a woman to really genuinely like you, like for you, not for your stuff, but for you. Like that is very rare. So that's a skill. And come to the Golden G Club. We teach y'all how to do that.
But after 3 months, everything kind of seems to fall apart, or everyone just wants me for these long-term relationships, and I just want to be able to play the field.
Yeah,
so it's
that was me.
Really depending on the goals of the man in.
But you only want to play the field until you find the person who you don't want to play the field with anymore. Like that, in my personal experience, And then it's like, yeah, sometimes y'all might go play the field together. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Question and where he's experiencing the difficulties.
So if he's at the top of the funnel, so when we talk about funnels, if we have the top of the funnel is, you're meeting people, maybe a little bit further down the funnel is you're, having some kind of relationship with them short term. And then at the very bottom of the funnel might be like marriage and kids.
Sure.
So at the very top, so if they come in at the top of the funnel and they've got problems just like meeting people, where do you start?
That's a tough one. I think it's a good idea in today's day and age to have kind of
it ain't, I'm gonna be honest. Before he even get into it, it's not that hard. Like, to be honest, if you want to meet somebody, go out and meet somebody. Like, and you have to take a risk. And you actually have to be verbal. You have to conversate. And just to give y'all a couple of gems, because I told y'all about the, Golden G Club. The first thing you want to do is your appearance. That's going to be the first thing that's going to determine if you're going to be, how long is this conversation going to go, and if you're going to be able to move forward. You only have one time to make a good first impression. So it's like, if you could build up rapport prior to that, like, like if you have a mutual friend, or it's like, let's say y'all are all on social media, and you are saying some things that are funny or educational or something that is deep, then women pay attention to that. And they are already checking for you. So when they see you in person, you're getting brownie points. But if it's not anything like that and you just meeting somebody off the rip, man, the first couple of words that come out your mouth is going to be everything. Probably, honestly, you need to already have her favor before you even speak to her. So what a lot of women to pay attention to is, again, your appearance, how you look. Are you shaved? Do you smell good? Is your clothes clean? Do they fit? Are they too baggy? Are they too tight? What kind of shoes did you got on? Shoes are big for women, definitely big, especially if you're talking to like Asian women and a lot of like more high class women. Like, it depends on what type of shoes you'll have on. Like different type of women go for different type of things. I'm giving y'all some gems. So like, for example, a lot of, if you want to avoid designer or headache females, don't really be into all designer, like extreme designer like Gucci, Louis, shit like that. Avoid that. Dress good, it could be sportswear like Nike, Adidas is okay, but just be presentable. Good suits is cool, dressing casual is cool, but it also depends on your age range. It depends on what is the environment that you in, and it depends on what type of woman are you going for. Like a woman who's into the farm life or into riding dirt bikes and horseback riding, what she's going to be instantly attracted to is not going to be the same thing as, like a city girl, like literally city girls, like they may be attracted to, man, something completely different. They will be attracted to something completely different. And then you'll have like women who are more quieter, they're more career focused. They're going to be attracted to something completely different. And you have to know that each one of these women have a different type of different things that they checking for, but you can still hit them all the marks. You just got to know you got to know what they're looking for, and you got to be able to, to be that. It's easier if you already are in that realm. You just need to go for what's for you. But if not, and you want to play in that realm, then you need to, come ready to play.
Dual strategy. I think that you can use the apps for what the apps are good for, but overly relying on them as a solution for your dating woes is probably
The apps are shit. Don't If you want to date, don't go on dating apps. Dating apps are not where you got a better chance of knocking females off of Instagram and Facebook or Snapchat. Well, no, that's false. Because Instagram is probably going to be, depending on what type of females you, again, I'm giving y'all gems. Don't go for the females that got hella followers. When she into like double, triple digits, you start seeing the blue check. That's business. So everything there is about the aesthetics, about the appearance. So she'll probably be going for either guys that are like have also blue checks and a lot of following, because that's what the social media is for. And it's like, if you try to approach her and let's say she got like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 plus followers, and you got like 300 people, or you're following like 500 people and you got like 60 followers, she's not going to fuck with you, bro. Not even kind of. You're not going to get any kind of attention. If it was the same type of female and you got a blue check and your followers is equivalent to hers or higher, or even a little bit close, she gonna be like, okay, he got some motion, she'll give you a shot. But then she's gonna pay attention to what you're actually talking about on your social media. Like, what are you looking like a lick? And when I say a lick, like, are you looking like something that she could either come up off of, or something that's gonna waste her time? Like, are you gonna do for her, or is you're gonna not do for her? Avoid Instagram. You don't want to go for those. If you are on Instagram, you want to go for the ones who usually under 1,000. If they have more who they're following than they have following, then yeah, she'll probably give you some type of conversation. It's not guaranteed, but your chances is way higher. Facebook is a lot easier because a lot of the people who are on your Facebook are people who you grew up with. They already know you. Somebody that knows that person, So it's easier to be to have a conversation because you're not a complete like stranger off of just off a random the social media, Facebook. Snapchat, most Snapchat is for OnlyFans, man, 304 activities. I wouldn't advise that. LinkedIn, more business professional, but if you are looking for like women that are more serious, but then again, it's more business, so it maybe you can try, but no. So social media in general is probably not the ideal, but then also too, you got to keep in mind you're competing with so many other men in her DMs. You feel me? Like, and I know, quick backstory, I do events. We did a lot of events, and we would use women's pages to send out messages and to market the flyer. And I kid you not, I would see so many messages from different dudes, in females' inboxes, and that's just probably not the best place. Like, if you are gonna go on social media to get a woman, we're trying to get some attention, make sure that you have her engaging with your actual post. That increases your chance. If you don't, you're gonna get ignored, buddy. And even then, you still might get ignored because there's so many. The best place to meet women is in person. And you got to have a real genuine conversation, really chop it up with them, get them away from crowds, get them away from like their friends where they're being judged. You feel me? Get them away from your friends, or like that awkwardness where eyes is on y'all. That you don't want to be in a place where it's hella loud music or it's too much going on, because you want her to be able to focus on what's coming out your mouth. You're trying to build that rapport and establish some type of connection. You don't need other shit, you feel me, blocking and causing barriers.
Not correct. You're going to have to get out there
Facts.
and get better at your people skills. Because even if you do match with somebody, if you're more of an introvert, if you have a lot of social anxiety, even if you manage to get someone off the app into the real world, you might be able to blow it because you're going to be nervous, you're going to be uncharismatic, you're not going to know how to lead the encounter in the direction of a sexual experience, if that's what you're.
That's what I'm saying, man. You got to get in the field. You got to get in the field, and you got to actually take the chance and the risk practicing talking to women. Like, that's the only way it's going to work.
Looking for. So it's generally a good idea to get out there. There's really no antidote. There's no better solution than doing it. It's just like learning a language. You have to speak it.
Facts.
You're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Facts.
You're going to be embarrassed.
It's okay.
going to feel frustrating and impossible until it doesn't.
It's okay. That's okay. It's okay, man. Practice makes perfect. But don't get to see a lot of dudes. They make it hard to talk to women outside and in person because a lot of men have no like type of emotional intelligence or emotional control, so they get rejected and start crashing out. Don't crash out, man. Like if she say she ain't interested, it's cool. Move on. You know, she may friends on you and be like, oh yeah, I got a guy, or oh yeah, no, I'm not really looking for anything. We can be friends though. That's cool. Take that. Go talk to her partner. You know, like it's easy, man. It's easy. Dudes just make it hard.
So, unfortunately, everything that you can say or read or listen to is just prelude to going out there and doing it and failing enough times and learning from your mistakes until you have a reasonable hit rate.
But how do I increase my probability that a woman will give me that chance and then stick with me?
I already told you.
Like, how do I increase my chance of being attractive?
Man, what I said.
Are there things I can do? Do I need to go hit the gym?
Yes.
Sure. Like when I
Yes.
talk about in the book is that everyone can be more attractive than they currently are.
Facts.
And if you're having a problem in that initial funnel, it's generally a marketing issue. Because think about it, on an app, it's 6 pictures and 3 responses. In a meat market,
You gotta, man. I don't judge dudes, but it's like, you know, like, man, come on, bruh. If he getting it, bruh, a lot of y'all should be, man. It's not that hard.
it's, hey, how you doing? And it's like she's going to give me a once over. She already gave me the side eye, and she's going to kind of make a snap judgment based on the vibe that I'm giving out, right?
Facts.
Neither one of those has anything to do with really who I am as a person.
Facts.
That's one of the things is that they can't really reject you because they haven't spent any time getting to know you. For better or for worse, if they like you or not, they like the idea of you. They like the presentation of you.
That's what you need to focus on, and I can't stress that enough. The first 10 seconds, man, is key. Your presentation, and they noticing you before you even start to talk. So you need to be presentable in different areas.
And it's really important not to disabuse people of that presentation too quickly.
Okay, so to think about your exterior marketing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's what men do. I
Yeah.
mean, they don't go up to women randomly. They think, oh man, she's pretty cute, right? They're paying attention to the surface marketing as well.
Yep.
What can I do with my surface marketing?
Nah, some man go up randomly. Yeah, be that dude that go up randomly. If she on point, go up randomly. Especially if you starting off, man, this will help you.
To make me more attractive?
Well, you got to focus on what you can control because generally, when we go down this road, what I hear from men online is, well, that's all well and good, Orion, but I'm 5'6", I'm balding. Women aren't going to like me. And it's like, yeah, if
Yeah, you 5'6".
you don't have some of the
yeah,
genetic
that's real.
markers, it is more difficult, but everyone can get better at what they do. And on some level, the less conventionally attractive that you are, the more you have to learn seduction, the more you have to learn game. You have to think about the fact that
That's super facts. Fortunately, I'm 6 feet plus and a nice little chocolate guy. So yeah, I'm pretty good. But no, all jokes aside, yes. Even then, like that was when I was younger. I felt like I wasn't hella attractive. Like when I was like in elementary and middle school. So it forced me to work on conversation, and then I guess I was a late bloomer. I probably was an early bloomer too. But it's like I didn't feel like my confidence when it came to that was quite low, but it forced me to work on my mouthpiece, what guys or what this dude just referred to as game and conversation skills, and it will elevate you. And like seriously.
that attractiveness is not normally distributed across any population, right?
No way.
There's going to be a small subset of men and women who are just absolutely gorgeous. Some that are, ooh, wow, that's interesting. And most people are kind of in the middle, right? And seduction is the process of being able to direct attention
Bingo.
to your purposes. And the more that you can learn how to direct attention for your purposes, the more that you can overcome some of the liabilities associated with being, let's say, in the fat part of the curve when it comes to attractiveness.
Okay, so how do I do that?
Well, you have to kind of learn what works. I think one of the things that all men can learn from the pickup community is that they were basically behavioral scientists.
Facts.
Some of them went to the field and said, okay, if I knew what I was doing, I'd be laid by now. I'd be awash in optionality. So maybe I don't know what women want. Maybe I don't know what works. Let's let the outcome teach me what I should believe, as opposed to going to women with a preconceived notion about what should work or what they should want. And that's why, on some level, you got what on the surface seems like some ridiculous strategies like peacocking. You know, it's like some men look at that and they, I would never do that. That's just so ostentatious and extravagant, but it can attract attention. That's a very, let's say,
Now, peacocking, I'm pretty sure he's going to go into it, but you will see a lot of dudes out here, they overly flashy. You know, they wear a lot of extra designer, a lot of extra jewelry, a lot of, you know, like, they do a lot of flashy stuff to get the attention. And you notice that, like, the attention that they get usually, because they mimic celebrities and artists and athletes. So they mimic their program to get the same type of groupie attention that they get. And yes, sometimes they get the average woman looking to, like, to see if they upgrade in their life. But a lot of times, a lot of these guys may not actually have what it is that they presented, and they just using it to smash because they know how women think and they know how they operate. So they know that it's like, if a lot of guys, they will be flashy with a lot of women, and it may be, let's say it's 20 women, but out of the 20 women, 10 women are interested, you know, and be not just interested. I'm thinking like they're observing, like they're actually paying attention. They even the other 20, let's say some is they're not even into men, some is married, some got relationships, some, you know, like whatever. He's not her type. You know, the other 10, you know, that are interested, they may be eyeing over, you know, but out of that 10, the ones that are super materialistic, they call them like gold diggers. They'll be the one that'll push a hard issue on this guy because they think that they have a come up. That's why I'm saying it's bad to chase certain type of women, and it's bad to lead with a certain type of narrative because you're causing your own headaches down the road. And it's like, if you want to deal with that, then by all means go ahead. But a lot of guys complain about it down the road, but they did it to themselves because they were leading and they were putting out that type of energy, and they got what they asked for, like, basically.
Heavy-handed way to do so.
For someone that doesn't know what peacocking is,
Here we go.
You know, dressing a little bit more flamboyantly to attract attention.
or like a
Flamboyantly.
flamboyant feature, or like it could be a crazy hat
It
you
could
have
be a
on.
crazy hat. Flavor Flav had the big clock around his neck. I don't know if I just dated myself with that reference.
Flamboyant.
But and sometimes it's just looking sharp. I mean,
Sharp.
by far, one of the best things that men can do is just spend $1,000 or $2,000 to get like 2 or 3 really good outfits. You can just cycle through them when you're dating, especially in some marketplaces.
Now, the issue with that is you can only cycle through them with girls who are new, you know? So it's like, if you can't, that the issue with this thing, if you are leading with that and you are dependent on that, and it's like, okay, let's say you get a girl that likes you, you know, and you did what he just said. If y'all go on more than 3 dates, or y'all kick it more than 3 times, or, you know, let's say y'all with each other for a couple of months, she's going to see those 3 outfits a couple of times, you know? So it's like, eventually she's going to be like, like, bro, you were kind of faking the funk. That's what I'm saying. Don't fake the funk. Do not fake the funk. Don't do that. Just be presentable. With that same couple of $1,000s, man, you can get a lot of nice clothes, and, you know, like having a cool wardrobe that will get you the responses from right women. Make sure it's your size. Make sure that it's clean. Make sure that it fit. You know, like, just dress like an adult.
LA is tough. New York is tough, but it is so easy to be the best dressed man in San Francisco. I swear to God, it does not take that much effort. And if you're the best dressed man in the room, you get like 1 free point. Can you imagine? Some women have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on cosmetic surgery to get 1 extra point.
He ain't lying. A lot of women cash out on their appearance. Like, seriously, they spend thousands on their appearance. Tens of thousands.
Some men just need to put some clothes on and get a
Facts.
better haircut. You know what I'm saying? And they refuse to do that for whatever reason.
If you love the Diary of a CEO,
Okay, I thought this was pretty good. So, y'all go ahead, comment, tell me what y'all think about it. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Don't forget to check out the Golden G Club. All right, peace.